Let's pay homage to the Venerable Monk Liao Ming. Homage to Master Sakya Zhengkong. Homage to His Holiness the 16th Karmapa. And Master Tupten Tachi. Homage to the three jewels of the altar. Homage to the main deity of Homa today. Hiking Guanxin. Hiking Avalokitesvara. Simon, Tanzhen Jatso, all Dharma masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma instructors, Dharma assistants, all disciples present here and over the internet. Our participating VIPs today are Madam to Daniel, Ambassador Daniel Liao, the Taipei rep to Sweden and Norway, Dharma Sister Judy, and Law Advisor to Buddha Foundation, the Attorney Lu Wenxiang, Accountant to Buddha Foundation, Dharma Sister Teresa and her husband, Larry. And from Hong Kong, Professor Liang and family, Dr. Ryan Zhuang, Dr. Su Lin, and the PR Director of Buddha Taiwan Temple, Dharma Brother from Wang, and the advisor to the Overseas Chinese of Republic of China, Mr. Mac. And a well-known songwriter from Hollywood, Dharma Brother Yong and his mother. Good afternoon, everyone. How do you do? Let me announce that next Sunday, on August 5th, there will be Mahabala Homa fire offering ceremony. And Mahabala is right here. This deity is Mahabala. He's extremely majestic and formidable. And his mudra is like this. The subjugation mudra, the mantra. And that was the mantra to ward off all the ghosts. And the heart mantra is Om Mahabhalaya Soha. And his image or appearance is like right here, as you can see. So he's one who is in contract with True Buddha School. He's a great protector of True Buddha School. So, due to his ceremony, due to the affinity with Mahabala, we finally expose XX. Today we had the Homa of hiking Avalokitesvara of Kuan Yin Bodhisattva. In China's history, Wei and Jin, the northern and southern dynasties, during the Tang and Song dynasties, hiking Kuan Yin Sutra was very popular during these dynasties. And it was extremely, or it is extremely responsive. So the responsiveness of hiking Kuan Yin Bodhisattva and hiking Kuan Yin Sutra is extremely responsive. This is a sutra that is extremely responsive. One time I visited Japan at Shikoku. The Kobudaishi built about 88 temples, big and small. We made a pilgrimage to the 88 spiritual centers. And at this 88 spiritual centers of Shikoku, we also found a Japanese version of hiking Kuan Yin Sutra. So this sutra was not only widespread in China, but also in Japan. So it went from China to Korea, then to Japan. So the sutra is extremely marvelous. And the first time when I was at the Jade Emperor Temple, the abbot there was called Si Huiling Venerable, and he gave me this sutra. And I felt that this sutra has close connection with me. And then later on, hiking Kuan Yin Bodhisattva pointed to me. Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra is short, but for emergency, and if you're urgent, it's okay if you just chant the name of the sutra. So that's her instruction to me. You can just chant Namo Hai Gao Wang Guan Si Yin Jing, which means Namo Hiking Guan Si Yin Sutra. And immediately he would hear and help. I have written in my book, right? If you join your palms in front of your shrine, and you recite the Namo Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra continually, then you become purified. Namo Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra. Then your head would become white, purified. The whole head becomes white and purified. And then you recite again Namo Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra. Your neck would become purified. And then you chant again Namo Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra. Your upper body is purified. And you chant again Namo Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra. The lower body is purified. And then you chant again Namo Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra. All the way to the knees are purified. And then by chanting again Namo Haikin Kwansin Sutra, your lower legs and feet, they're all purified. And every morning you chant this, your whole body would become purified. So this is a convenient method. It was not recorded in the sutra. But Haikin Kwan Yin Bodhisattva told me this, that in the morning you can just recite my sutra's name once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. Once for the head, twice for the neck, 3 times for the upper body, 4 times for the lower body, 5 times for the upper legs, and 6 times for the lower legs. This way, your whole body is purified. That's a very convenient Dharma method. And in my new book, I will write it. And it will be even better if you recite the sutra, that it can alleviate the sufferings of life and death and eradicate all kinds of harms and poisons. And the other thing is there are 7 Buddhas seated on his head. He's the Dharma brains of the 7 Buddhas. And the 7 Buddhas of the past are Vipashin, Shikin, Visvabhu, Krakuchanda, Kanakamuni, Kashyapa, and Sakyamuni Buddhas. They were the 7 Buddhas of the past. And one time we went to Japan. The transliteration in Chinese is of Krakuchandra Buddha is Ji Liu Sun Fo. I went to Japan and to visit the mountains and the ancient temples. And the Buddha that was enshrined at one of the temples was the ancient Buddha Krakuchandra. But the Japanese Ji became dog, go. You know, I just thought because the ancient Japanese use Han characters because they adopted Chinese culture. So when you visit Japan, and then if you need to, you can write Han Chinese characters, and the elder generation would be able to understand. And then I visited a temple that enshrined Krakuchandra Buddha, in Chinese Ji Liu Sun Fo. But they made a mistake, and Ji, the character, looked like Go, which is dog. That's a huge difference, right? So, in China, it spread from India. There were 16 arhats, not 18. And one of the arhats' name was rather long, so they split it into 2. Pindo Lu Bolo Do was the name of one arhat. But they split it into Pindolu Arhat and Loboto Arhat. So one Arhat became 2 Arhats. So that was a mistake made in China. So it became 18 arhats. Originally, there were 16 arhats in India, and there were 2 arhats with long names. And they split the names into 2 names each. So 16 became 18 arhats. And because of that, they added Maitreya and the Emperor Wu of Liang to become 18 arhats. So the difference between 16 arhats in India and 18 arhats in China. And then the Krakuchanda Buddha that spread from China to Japan, it became a dog Kuchanda. Ji became Go. So sometimes these things happened. So Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra had 7 Buddhas seated on top of her crown. So she's the Dharma Prince of the 7 Buddhas. And the Dharma Prince of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas is Vajrasattva. So when we chant the karma eradication mantra of the 7 Buddhas, is the same as reciting the mantra for Hiking Kuan Yin. She looks extremely dignified, wearing the 7 Buddha crown and has the appearance of a Buddha. Her face is round as a full moon. Her right hand forms the Dharma teaching mudra, and left hand forms the mudra of equality, where she wears a multi-layered celestial dress inscribed with 7 Buddha mantra, adorned with necklaces, earrings, bracelets, anklets, and a gold Sanskrit syllable on her back. She stands on a rainbow-colored lotus, and her entire body emits bright light that radiates throughout all the realms. If you want to check on the origin of Hiking Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, you can read the Hiking Sutra. It has its own origin. During the Tang Dynasty, it was extremely popular. And the Xixia Dynasty, all the people recited Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra. And in Tang Dynasty also. And in our China's history, Tang Dynasty is the most prosperous and glorious dynasty. That's because of Hiking Kuan Yin Bodhisattva. The most glorious one. Long ago, in the Zhang Yi prison in Singapore, there's only one prison, right? There were many criminals sentenced to death. And one of them was True Buddha's school disciples. And he taught all these prisoners to recite the Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra. And they chanted inside the prison until they emitted light. So, and because of that, after they were being cremated, they bore sariras. So the prisoners, they were on death row, wrote a letter to ask for refuge in Grandmaster. And after taking refuge, they chanted Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra until they all bore sariras. So it was truly responsive. So even the prisoners to be executed also rise to the Pure Land. Because I often mentioned Hanifa's dad and mom, they did not practice Dharma, but her father chanted Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra, and her mother also chanted the Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra. And also chanted the Root Guru mantra or Padma Kumara mantra. They only chanted these two things. And upon cremation, her father and mother bore sariras, and also Master Lien Chiao. Hanifa's mother was the most interesting because a female lay practitioner could die sitting. She got up and she cooked that morning, made some dishes, and then she was prepared to go out. And then when she got to the door, she felt a bit dizzy, and then she sat on a chair and then passed away. She was not sick, and she still cooked in the morning. And then she was about to go out, and then she's about to leave, and then she got back and sat on a chair and then rested, and everybody thought she was resting. But actually, she already left. So Hanifa's mother was called dying sitting. So as if she's taking a rest, closing the eyes. How could that be so marvelous? It's very, very, very rare. Just dying, sitting on the chair. So how hiking Guanxin and hiking Guanxin Sutra are incredible and incredibly responsive. So I've been protected by hiking Guanxin, and the first sutra that I got was also the hiking Guanxin Sutra, and I've been reciting it ever since until now. I never stopped for a day, even when I'm traveling on the plane or when I'm staying in a hotel. Every morning I would recite hiking Kuan Yin Sutra. And sometimes when I drive, I would also chant the sutra. But if there is something, then I would stop, and then I would repeat it afterwards, and I would complete the recitation every time. So hiking Kuan Yin Bodhisattva is one of the bodhisattvas that I highly revere. I hope that every one of us would chant. It's very easy and short, and powerful. And it also has the karma eradication mantra of the 7 Buddhas. And then also the Buddhas of the past, the present, and the future. And the billions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. It's an extremely supreme sutra. The first time, that was the 10 billion Vajra treasury Buddhas. The first time I saw the hiking Kuan Yin was at the San Yi Buddhist shop. I could not recognize her at that time, so I asked the shop owner, and he said that's the hiking Kuan Yin Bodhisattva. This deity is also extremely beautiful, and on her garments there the mantra of the 7 Buddhas. Recently, I've been reading the biography of Tsongkhapa, and I have read it before, but recently, because I will transmit the Buddha Dharma of Tsongkhapa, so I took and reread it again. It turned out that he wrote a praise that praised hiking Kuan Yin Bodhisattva. It turned out. And he also extremely admired Green Tara. And he praised the beauty of hiking Kuan Yin Bodhisattva. I felt it's the same with me. One time, I had a vision of hiking Kuan Yin Bodhisattva. As I closed my eyes in Taichung, his appearance, she's standing in front of me with her back toward me, and all of a sudden, she turned her head, and with a glimpse, I was dumbfounded. With that slight smile, it's unforgettable. That Kuan Yin Bodhisattva was extremely beautiful. So the beautiful ladies of this world are like garbage. I never seen anyone that beautiful, with layers of celestial garment. And she turned her head and looked at me, and it really touched the strings of my heart, and it's unforgettable. There are no beauties on earth, and Kuan Yin Bodhisattva is the most beautiful. Now let's continue on Lamdre. Oops. What's that? What sound is that? Maybe because I was praising hiking Kuan Yin Bodhisattva to be so beautiful that the bell made sound. The wheel of a rice pounder. So the body as specified in the pith instruction, which is in the lotus position, the 7 postures of Vayakana, and the hands are clasping on the knees, the key for the mind is at the center, from the navel to the top knot. Clearly visualize the central channel as red and as thick as the medium-sized bamboo. The right and left channels being white, any size is fine. And then pound and mix the central channel and visualize the lower part of the central channel, a light drop like a beam, and pound and mix the two channels of cement and blood. First, pound and mix on inhalation. Relax the lower chi, push down the upper chi. Pound rhythmically the two channels to push it into the central channel. And the lower part of the central channel was pounded by the earlier light drop and pounded against the central channel. By practicing this way, it is easy to generate warmth. For the best kind of practitioners in one practice, for the mediocre kind in a day and night, and for the lowest kind of practitioners in 3 days and nights. When warmth has slightly been generated during the holding of the breath, pull back the lower chi, bring the upper chi to the abdomen, and combine them forcefully. If I don't explain it, you would never know what this is about. So pound and mix. Ooh. Oh. It's because of, is it because I moved this? Or because you were fixing it? I have too many cables on my body. Maybe it was too close together. Now it's fine after I moved that. I didn't intentionally move it, just moved it. So it's like the wheel of a rice pounder, like a pounder or a bat, and you use this pounder, I just call it a pounder, like a rice pounder, to mix. This is a method to generate your inner fire very fast. Most people in their Treasuries Energy Yoga practice would have great difficulty generating inner fire. So how? It has to be fast and slow. But let me share a joke first. There's a snail. How do you say it in Chinese? Is that right? Not right? You said right to say Guan Yu. Which one? Okay, Guan Yu. There's a female snail that just got pregnant. And her husband was taking her to the hospital. And the female snail was curious. I just got pregnant. Why do you want me to bring to the hospital so soon? And the husband replied, by the time we arrive at the hospital, it's about the birth, the time for birth. What is that? That's because snails walk very slowly. So by the time they arrive at the hospital, the baby is about to be born. Someone at home in the winter time and was putting on fire, and then there was a knock at the door, and he opened the door, and there was a snail because it's cold outside and wanted to enter the house, and the person was angry and kicked the snail very far and then closed the door. And then a year later, at the cold winter night, as he was making fire, he opened the door and it was the snail again. And the snail asked the owner, "Why did you kick me?" He's been crawling for 1 year. So it meant that the snail crawl very slowly. We have to learn the spirit of snails. Really. It doesn't matter. You will arrive just sooner or later. But if you want to ignite the inner fire fast, then there is this method of pounding and mixing. This was taught by the Guru. And most importantly, is at the forefinger width below the navel, the meeting point of the 3 channels is to push the qi into the central channel. And what would be the best method? Do you know? Now for women, you have the corset. It's like something to bind your waist to make it smaller. You know, for men, people wear that belt because they may harm their backs or spines. But at the time of Milarepa, they use this kind of like cloth band to bind your middle part very tightly. So central, left and right channels, and at the meeting point, you bind it tight so that the left and right channels are getting closer to the central channel, so that the breath that you take in can go into the central channel easily. So in your meditation, if you wear this belt to bind, it would be easier to ignite the inner fire. And then you use both hands to rub your navel chakra 14 times this way, another 14 times counterclockwise, until it's warm, because there's a pilot fire as big as a bean right there. all the body temperature came from this point about 4-finger width below the navel. So all the temperature was rise from this point. So that's why you want to bind them tight, that area. This is extremely important. And second, you use the power of rubbing to make the qi. When you're holding the breath during the treasure vase energy yoga, you use your hands to push and rub and press so that the qi of the two channels enter into the central channel. And this is called the wheel of the rice pounder. And if that doesn't work, you beat on it. See this, you press and rub 14 times to the right, 14 times to the left until it gets warm, and then you press, you push so that the qi from the left and right channels enter into the central channel. You use this way. This is also a method. And when you breathe in through the left and right channels to the navel chakra, and you need to make it enter the central channel. Because the qi in the left and right channels are the convenient qi, and the qi inside the central channel is the wisdom qi, and that could make the inner fire to rise quickly. So you need to use pressing, pushing, beating, rubbing, and binding the waist, and all kinds of methods to make it enter into the central channel. The pith instruction written here is not so clear, but what the Guru taught was a lot clearer. By this corset, so when you inhale, your tummy doesn't get bigger, but actually becoming smaller. When you breathe in, your tummy becomes smaller, not bigger. When you exhale, then your tummy becomes bigger. It's the opposite, the exact opposite of ordinary breathing. Ordinary people would have their tummy bigger when they inhale and smaller when they exhale. But in this case, it's the other way around. When you breathe in, the tummy is becoming smaller or tightening, and then it becomes relaxed when you exhale. So this is the pith instruction taught by the Gurus. Not like XX. She's always showing her big belly, and she said that because she's practicing qi, that's why she has big tummy. Don't you remember? One time we visited Japan, and XX also went, and we had a bowl of ramen, and she had 3 bowls. And we were full, having a bowl of ramen, young and old, men and women, but for her, she had to eat 3 bowls, at least 2 bowls, because we didn't wait for her to finish the third bowl. So we had the bowl, and she had 2 bowls, at least. She ate a lot. It was quite shocking. her followers would know. So her big tummy was due to cause and effect. You all love to talk about cause and effect, karma. So your tummy is big because you eat too much, not because of practicing. Qi. Like Manjushri, Bodhisattva and Vajrasattva have a slim waist and flat tummy. Because when you take in qi, actually your tummy is tightened. So your tummy is not because of the qi practice, it's because of the beef noodle soup. So what a blabber. She's always talking nonsense. A true qi practitioner would tuck in their abdomen. As part of the Vaikana 7 postures, you have to tighten your abdomen. So when you breathe in, you should tighten your abdomen. And when you breathe out, you relax the abdomen. So rub, press, push, beat, and most importantly is to make the qi of the left and right channels into the central channel. Once it enters, the light of light drop the size of bean would be ignited to become inner fire. So please pay attention. When you're practicing inner fire, you want to buy the corset so that the 3 channels are getting closer together. And the qi would blow on the light of the light drop to ignite the inner fire. Just remember, when you practice until the inner fire is about to be ignited, you have to use a very forceful, quick breathing to blow on the inner fire to ignite it. And that's called the forceful breathing. And I have taught that you have to use the Vajra martial arts so that the 3 channels are flowing and open and no blockage. And one of them I taught this. You sit and then you twist. The upper body doesn't move, you just twist the waist. And the hands on the waist. When you're in meditation posture, one hand is in front of you, one hand is behind you. And then you twist like this. That's a method to help the left and right channels to enter into the central channel. This is one of the Vajra martial arts or Vajra fist exercise. So by twisting the waist back and forth, then you can make the qi to enter into the central channel. And you do it during holding the breath. When you do the treasure with energy yoga, the upper qi and the lower qi combine, and then you twist the waist. And by twisting, the qi of the left and right channels enter into the central channel. That's a Vajra fist exercise, and you can use this method. Now, can you do it? By practicing this way, it is easy to generate warmth. For the best kind of spiritual root in one practice. So people with the best kind of spiritual roots, immediately they would ignite the inner fire. But for the mediocre spiritual root, they would do it a day and a night. And for the lowest spiritual root, 3 days and nights. Of course, you cannot practice it day and night, but you just do it as much as you can. And you need to learn the spirit of snails. By practicing for a long period of time, the qi will enter into the central channel, and then you would be able to ignite the inner fire. So you need to bind your waist, you need to twist your waist, you need to beat and pound and press and rub. So it was not easy for Milarepa to practice the inner fire, and the Guru also taught us how to do it. When the warmth has been generated during the holding of the breath, pull back the lower qi and bring the upper qi to the abdomen, press on the upper qi and combine them forcefully. And that means you do the forceful breathing. Use the forceful breathing to use the treasure base energy yoga, and then press, push, rub, and then twist the body to make the qi to enter into the central channel. Once the qi enters into the central channel, then warmth would be generated, and then the blissful feeling will also be generated. You would also feel blissful. Recently, I've been reading the X Lotus Society magazine, and there was an article written by Lianhua Meijian. She wrote in 1992. It's about 26 years ago. At the beginning, January or February of 1992, XX chapter moved to a bigger place. So, because of the move, they had no use of the altar table, like the offering or the altar table. So she wanted to make money and auction it. So Lianhua Meijian bought the altar table. Once she brought it home, as soon as she set it up that evening, that night, there were many ghosts visiting her house, came to her house. So she did the armor protection, Om Bururanjari. While she was sleeping, she did the armor protection. She chanted Om Bururanjari, Om Bururanjari, Om Bururanjari 3 times, and the ghost left. And then another ghost came because there were so many ghosts. So she chanted Om Bururanjari all night until daybreak. Because she auctioned the altar table from the XX chapter. So that night she was visited by many ghosts. That was 26 years ago. So she already raised and employed ghosts at that time. There were ghosts already. When I saw this article, I took a note of it. So altar table was for enshrining Buddhas. How could the ghosts follow it? That's beyond thinking. Because we have Buddhas, so all that appear are the Buddhas, and she had ghosts, so all that appeared are ghosts. Master Lien Yen. Master Lien Yen's mother in Panama also bought the bed that the witch slept on. So she was selling the bed that she slept on too. Maybe I can sell my funeral. Jeez, she sold everything. So Master Lien Yen's mother bought XX bed and thinking that she would have good night's sleep, but it turned out no. After that, she became very hot-tempered and insomnia. And she had insomnia, and she wanted to kill herself. And she became very irritable after sleeping on the witch bed, and they did not know what happened. She wanted to kill herself. And because it was infested by bugs, so we threw it away. So she was disturbed for a long time. How long? Over 2 years. And she became very bad-tempered. And one time, just because of a minor thing, she got a knife and wanted to kill herself and to scare everybody in the family. And we didn't know why her temper became really bad, and then wanted to kill herself. And then after we threw away the bed and we encouraged her to chant Guru mantra, and then she's gotten better gradually, and her temper has gotten better gradually. So she slept on it for 2 years. And when she stopped sleeping on it, then she gradually got better. So she was being disturbed by the ghost too. So that's why a disciple from Indonesia made an offering of hatha to her, and then she placed the hatha on the neck of that Indonesian disciple, and the ghost entered into her body, and it affected the whole family, including the 4 sisters and the mom and dad. So the witch body is filled with ghosts. Someone, usually when we have attainment, all of our skin pores are filled with Buddhas, but all of her skin pores are filled with ghosts. So please be careful if you have made offerings of hatha to the XX before. Yesterday, I told my wife that she looks about the same before or after makeup, and the wife was very happy, was very unhappy. And then the friend said, well, of course. Well, I said something else, but she got even angrier. What did you say? That it's a huge difference before you put makeup and after makeup. And she also got very angry, saying that no big difference before and after makeup, she's unhappy. But saying there's a big difference before and after makeup, she's still unhappy. What should you say then? Dad told the son, last time you got 320 for your exam and I beat you for 20. And how about this time? There's no need for you to beat me because I got 0. One morning, the criminal A told B, I had a good dream last night. And B asked, how good was it? And A said, I forgot to pay the rent. And then the head of the prison got angry and kicked me out of the prison, the ward. A criminal escaped from the prison and caught back. Why did you escape? And then the criminal replied, because the food is really bad here. So how did you cut the barbed wires using the bun from lunch? Because the bun was so hard that you can cut the barbed wire with it. A told B, that woman over there is so ugly. And B said, oh, she's my wife. And then A said, oh, sorry. I said, the one on the left there. And then B said, oh, that's my sister. And then A asked, so which one is not related to you? That's why be careful when you speak. Otherwise, sometimes it doesn't go well. Okay, that's all for today.